Hello. It is Tuesday, and we are back. I did not stream yesterday. I was on with Nina Turner, though. Yesterday was my girlfriend's birthday, so we was kicking it early in the day. We got a couple of things to discuss today. One of them being the fact that Republicans are never going to do anything about gun violence in this country. And, of course, several instances of people making fun of Ron DeSantis because Ron DeSantis is not quite the person that people were hoping that he would become. Rhyme and Lord of Bananas and Rhyme. How y'all doing today? How y'all doing this afternoon? Well, it's afternoon where I'm at. Perhaps it's not quite yet afternoon where y'all are. But where I'm at, it is 12:23 in the afternoon here in New Jersey. And man, the weather's been so damn nice. Dark Dragon, what's popping? Man, the weather's been really, really nice. And especially yesterday. I was out and about, had some lunch outside, went to some nice little outdoor scenery. Like I said, it was my girlfriend's birthday yesterday, so we hung out. But I talked to a good friend of mine, good brother out here in New Jersey. He works in real estate, but he also has a really good podcast called excuse me, the Free Gems podcast. And he and I, you in Texas? Oh man, you in Texas? There's all types of stuff going there. Fritza, what's going on, Fritza? Jason. Oh yeah, man, y'all, you in Texas? Oh, Scott in the building too. Yeah, man, Texas is going crazy right now. But yeah, so like I was mentioning, a good friend of mine, his name's Kamal, but he just a real good, knowledgeable brother, and he and I in June we're gonna start doing weekly shows on Wednesdays where we just talk about real life issues in a vulnerable way, not in like a boo-hoo cry type of way, but we're gonna get real about things that we go through as men. We're gonna be real about situations that we've dealt with, and we're gonna share wisdom. We're gonna be bringing people on. And then today I got a couple other calls I need to make so we can get some merchandise going on this. But yeah, no, like I promised y'all, once we reach different plateaus, we're gonna be doing more on this channel, and we absolutely are. So you know what I'm doing. Y'all know I'm getting ready to light this, right? So I'm just getting everything wetter. Oh yeah, I wasn't on yesterday. I was busy. I was having a good time. It ended up being a pretty good rest. But the weather was just absolutely great. We're gonna take this hit and we're gonna get into a couple of stories. We don't have a super long stream today. And actually I was this close to not streaming just because there's not much news. Really, the only stuff in the news right now in terms of like the immediate, political discourse, obviously, is the mass shootings, which we're going to go over some of those stats in a few, and the debt ceiling. And in my opinion, y'all will probably never catch me talking about the debt ceiling because it's just such a boring issue to me because they always raise it. It's like, oh, the debt ceilings, they're not going to hit it. Like, yes, they will. They're not going to let this whole fucking country collapse. No. So it's always the same old shit with the debt ceiling. Every fucking time the debt ceiling needs to be raised, it gets raised. You know what I'm saying? So there's really not that much to discuss when it comes to that. But let's go ahead and take this hit, and then we're going to get into today's stories. Ooh, it's 90. Yeah, it ain't quite that warm. It's about 68 where I'm at right now. Yesterday it was in like what was it, like mid to high 70s or something like that. Ooh, hold on, let me go get a lighter. It'll be difficult to light this bong without a lighter. Hold on, I'll be right back. Then we're gonna get started. Now we good. Hold on, what you say, Fritza? The cell phone? I don't know. You talk about yesterday when I was on with Adrian Lawrence, or are you talking about yeah, the girl who's pepper sprayed the teacher and shit. Uh, yeah, she wanted that phone bad. But yes, now we got what we need. So let's go ahead and smoke this bong, and then we're gonna get into today's stories. All right, here we go. All right, I'm feeling pretty good. Let's go ahead and get into what we got to discuss today. Oh shit, I honestly I don't even know why we talked about that yesterday. But yeah, shit, people be wilding out in school. Now, I think that it's only right that we start today by roasting Ron DeSantis, as we often do, as we typically do here on this stream. And it's not even just that like that I typically do it, man. People are coming after Ron DeSantis like nobody's business because she was well, yeah. I mean, if she was using it, she was using it to cheat. See, I mean, I don't know, man. I like. I'm not necessarily like I'm good at dealing with conflict, but I don't necessarily like I don't know what I would necessarily do in that situation because I don't have the patience to be a teacher, to tell you the truth, man. That is a job that first and foremost requires a lot of passion. Like you really, not to say that every teacher is passionate, but I mean that's a career that you need the passion for. You need a lot of patience, because kids are figuring themselves out, and yeah, so yeah, no. But let's go ahead and get into it. We have a slew of things against Ron DeSantis. Being an unlikable jerk, not working out so well for Ron DeSantis. The Florida governor's 2024 prospects appear to be drastically dwindling. All right. And again, he would have, in order to defeat this image, he would have to do a complete 180. So let's go ahead and read over this. After the 2022 midterm elections, the broad consensus among Republicans and the conservative media, well, shit, and the liberal media too, for that matter, was that Donald Trump was finished and Ron DeSantis was the future of the GOP. Well, in a lot of ways, Ron DeSantis kind of still is the future. Just he's not going to be able to escape all the attention that he's gotten. At the very least, Ron DeSantis is going to remain a very popular and talked about. And by popular, I don't mean like necessarily well liked. I just mean like everybody talking about him. Are you heading to Florida now? All right. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, my sister, for instance, my sister's actually a teacher. She does early childhood education. But yeah, again, Ron DeSantis, he's going to remain a very talked about Republican, kind of, no matter what happens moving forward, unless he just dropped off the face of the planet, which he's not going to do. Fast forward approximately 6 months later, though, and the two men whose respective ascensions to the White House in 2024 will be equally bad for humanity appear to have had a complete role reversal, as demonstrated by a recent poll putting DeSantis behind the former governor by a whopping, behind the former guy. Okay, sorry, the former guy, not former governor, because they talking about Trump, by a whopping 36% points. How to account for it all? At the moment, the Florida governor's woes seem to be from a variety of factors, including: one, he hasn't actually yet announced that he's running for president, which, according to some of his allies, has led to the quote creeping national narrative that former President Donald Trump is the overwhelming frontrunner for the 2024 GOP nomination. That's true. The longer he's waited, the more it is just kind of the more the odds are just not in his favor. The less time he has to really make up for anything. The bobblehead shit he's doing. Number two, he hasn't really responded to Trump's nearly daily barrage of attacks, which have seen the ex-president hammer him on his record on Medicare and Social Security, suggest he had inappropriate relationships with high school girls while working as a teacher, claims that DeSantis cried while begging him for a gubernatorial endorsement in 2018, and insists that he would be working at a Pizza Hut if it wasn't for the former president. I mean, that's pretty brutal, man. Like, this dude, Donald Trump, is just coming after Ron DeSantis's manhood. He's coming after everything. You know what I'm saying? And Ron's just kind of like, eh. And oh, this list is long. Oh, okay. These first two are strong, so let's keep going. He refuses to give up his extremely stupid fight with Walt Disney, which resulted in Mousetown suing him last month. Indeed, that is another thing that's really hurting him, including with Republicans. One, because it's kind of antithetical to what the Republican Party's agenda is, which is, not just capitalism, but, even deeper, being on the side of corporations, which is what the Republican establishment and the Democratic establishment is about, but especially the Republican Party. But also, he's not winning, so he's not making them look good. Next, he signed a hugely restrictive 6-week abortion ban that has reportedly even given GOP megadonor Ken Griffin pause. That's another thing, just in terms of like his general popularity with the broader public. He's obsessed with attacking the LGBTQ community. Yes, indeed, he is. He's literally ruined people's lives for political purposes. Well, in terms of the voting restrictions, but we're not going to dive into whatever that else one is. Another, no one believes him when he says he's never eaten pudding using 3 fingers as a spoon. And the next, he's just kind of an asshole. Well, hey, I mean that's a pretty strong list. Now let's continue. Now, many people may reasonably respond to that last point by noting that Trump is an infamous asshole, and that it doesn't really make sense that DeSantis would lose ground to him by being a jerk. Well, there's a difference. There is a difference because Ron DeSantis has no charisma. He has no yes, Donald Trump's an asshole, but he's charismatic. He's funny. And he does things in such a way that he directs attacks at the right people for the base. Ron DeSantis just kind of comes off like a guy that just doesn't really deal with people. Oh, my boy Kyle in the building. You know what I'm saying? Ron DeSantis, comes off just as a guy who has a lack of people skills and he's not nice to be around, Whereas Trump's entertaining. Ron DeSantis is not entertaining, and that does make a difference. Okay. And we agree it doesn't. And yet, for some reason, people think the Florida governor is an even bigger prick. Quote, if you're going to go into politics, kind of a fundamental skill that you should have is likability. I don't think he has that, the former GOP representative David Trott told Politico last month. Quote, he never developed any relationships with other members that I know of. You never see him talking on the floor with other people or palling around. He's just a very arrogant guy focused on Ron DeSantis. I think he's an asshole. I don't think he cares about people. Well, obviously, again, Trump doesn't either, but his presentation is different. Okay, so here we go. Here's some video.
Has the NRA donated to me? I don't think the NRA is quite the boogeyman the Democrats think it is. Do we hit them on guns, or just everyone who cares about guns is going to vote for me?
Is there any issue upon which you disagree with President Trump?
Obviously there is, because I voted contrary to him in the Congress.
If he's really like this most of the time, look at him.
You disagree with President Trump?
Obviously there is, because I voted contrary to him in the Congress. I have to frame it in a way that's not going to piss off all his voters. And so what I do is I do what I think is right. I support his agenda in terms of what he's been able to do. If I have a disagreement, I talk to him in private.
I think when you walk up there, if you have a pad, you have to write in all caps at the top of the pad, likable. And then look, I do the same thing because I have the same personality. We're both aggressive.
Yo, that's funny as hell. He's just like he's just brutally like, and again, like even when he's the only and the only time I really can recall, the only time you really see Ron DeSantis is like when he's on stage talking to the press. But other than that, like you really don't see any clips of him interacting with people, or again, just demonstrating that he has any personality. You know what I'm saying? So this kind of seems to be more of what he's like when the cameras are off. So let's watch that one more time.
Has the NRA donated to me? I don't think the NRA is quite the boogeyman the Democrats think it is. Do we hit them on guns, or just everyone who cares about guns is going to vote for me?
Is there any issue upon which you disagree with President Trump?
Obviously there is, because I voted contrary to him in the Congress. I have to frame it in a way that's not going to piss off all his voters. So what I do is I do what I think is right. I support his agenda in terms of what he's been able to do.
He comes off like a spoiled little kid. Hold on, I'm reading y'all comments. Oh, that was debate prep. Shit, that was prepping. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Mike Nice in the building. Yeah, nah, this is this dude. Yeah, he's Jesus Christ. And again, like Trump's presentation just is just different. Hold on. Okay, so we just went over that list basically, and again, everything was pretty on point. But we don't need to just read off like quote after quote because we got a couple other things. But that was definitely interesting to look at. I hadn't seen that clip before. I mean, clearly Ron DeSantis isn't a nice guy, but uh, I think again that was more of a glimpse into what he's like when no one's looking. Um, right. He sucks so bad, lady. I'm reading your comment. He sucks so bad. If it isn't prepped, it's all press conferences. Yeah, facts. Okay, so um why DeSantis? Let me pull this up, my bad. All right, let's go. Okay, so this is Wall Street basically turning people on Wall Street. Okay, I had to open it up on my page more. Y'all don't see the difference, but it wasn't showing up the same way on my thing. One sec, sorry. DeSantis, quote, better than Trump for president, but he's a really weak option. Wall Street turns away from Florida governor. Although Wall Street considers Florida Governor Ron DeSantis a superior option to Donald Trump as a Republican presidential candidate, financial experts view him as a weak contender. DeSantis was considered a top pick by bankers, attorneys, and political consultants interviewed by Politico, but his recent missteps have caused donors to spread their money around to candidates of both parties. Dave Carney, a veteran Republican strategist for both former Bush presidents, said, quote, people will change horses. Quote, you may get really excited about somebody and then all of a sudden realize, not really my cup of tea. I mean, yeah, that happens in the real world all the time for sure. You know what I'm saying? Think about like how many people you may have dated, and at first you thought like, oh, this may go well, and then you just, I mean, things may not necessarily have went terrible. It was just like, nah, I don't really, this isn't really doing it for me. As Trump gains more popularity in the polls after being charged with criminal offenses related to hush money payments, a New York bank executive expressed doubts about DeSantis' chances of winning. Quote, DeSantis is certainly a better option than Trump at this point, but he's a really weak option. Financial industry executives are among the biggest donors in presidential elections. Indeed, they are that. And they generally favor lower taxes and lighter touch regulation, but also value stability and experience. Although DeSantis was seen as a potential candidate to secure Wall Street support, his several gaffes, including his personal demeanor and snacking habits, have led to a decline in popularity. Even if DeSantis manages to win significant support from the financial industry, he could still face a problem as some executives are skeptical that contributing money to the Florida governor's campaign might allow Trump to label him as a puppet of Wall Street. Quote, we know everyone, other than Trump isn't. We know everyone hates us and that nobody running for president wants to be seen as the Wall Street candidate, said the first executive at the large New York bank. Okay. And one more before we move on. Oh, oh, oh. DeSantis bans Chinese citizens from buying land in Florida. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed 3 bills into law yesterday, including one prohibiting Chinese citizens from purchasing land in the state. The new regulations are intended to counteract the malign influence of the Chinese Communist Party in the state of Florida. Quote, today, Florida makes it very clear we don't want the Chinese Communist Party in the Sunshine State, DeSantis said at a press conference on Monday. We want to maintain this as the free state of Florida. The new bill, SB 246, prevents Chinese nationals from buying land in Florida unless they are also American citizens or permanent residents. In an exception to the new law, legislators added, quote, an amendment allowing anyone holding a non-tourist visa to buy one property of up to 2 acres, as long as it's not within 5 miles of a military installation. DeSantis called the latest bill a response to a concerted effort by the Chinese Communist Party to acquire farmland in Florida. The governor also signed a bill that bans using Chinese-owned social media apps like TikTok and WeChat on government devices, and another that limits colleges and universities from entering agreements with their counterparts in foreign countries of concern, such as China. Florida has also banned Russian, Cuban, Iranian, North Korean, Syrian, and Venezuelan communities from purchasing property within 10 miles of a military base. However, they were not entirely banned from buying land in Florida. Well, actually, there is an issue in terms of uh, uh, very, very wealthy people in China or wealthy people in other nations in general buying up property and not really doing anything with it here. So, I mean, just from that regard, something definitely does need to be done about that. So, from what I can tell, at least just from this doesn't really seem like a terrible move by Ron DeSantis. Quote, Florida is taking action to stand against the United States' greater geopolitical threat, the Chinese Communist Party, DeSantis said in a statement. I'm proud to sign this legislation to stop the purchase of our farmland and land near our military bases and critical infrastructure by Chinese agents, to stop sensitive data from being stored in China, and to stop the Chinese Communist Party influence on our education system from grade school to grad school. We are following through on our commitment to crack down on communist China. So, yeah, he's definitely pandering and saying communist as often as he can, as much as he can. But yeah, again, that I mean, from what I can tell, at least, that really doesn't seem like a bad move at all, because that is something that very wealthy people in other countries do. They buy up a lot of land, a lot of property here, and then they just sit on it. So now let's get on to the fact that the Republican Party is absolutely never going to do anything about gun violence, no matter what. They just ain't gonna do it. U.S. on record pace for mass killings. So let's check this out. So, okay, these are stats from 2000 over here. These are I don't think y'all can see my mouse, but to the right you can see these stats from 2006 to 2022. And here's 2023, and it's already up here. And actually, I saw something this morning that we had like 200 mass shootings already this year, some shit like that. It's not even the middle of May. And again, the reason, the lack of action on gun violence is quickly becoming the Republican Party's perhaps number 2 biggest political issue, or tied at their number 1 issue, which is the reversal of Roe v. Wade. Because really, what you end up seeing is, even a couple of years ago, like mass shootings, yeah, they happened often, but not this often. You know what I mean? Like several years back, we could go a couple of months or several months without having mass shootings, but now it's happening pretty much every other day. So it's getting so difficult to keep up with, and the typical thoughts and prayers. We don't need to make this political. This is clearly a political issue. So this is where we at now. This year has seen more mass killings to date than any other year since 2006. According to a database from USA Today, Northeastern University, and the Associated Press, the killings in 2023 have been driven exclusively by gun violence, as all 22 incidents of mass murder this year have involved guns. A mass killing is defined by by an incident in which four or more victims, not counting the assailant, are killed. These killings can be perpetrated with knives or other weapons, but most are mass shootings. The U.S. usually experiences about 6 mass killings in public places per year, with 10 being the highest it has ever seen in a single year. The mass shootings in Allen, Texas this weekend marked the 6th public mass shooting of 2023, just over a third of the way through. And again, 200 just like general shootings. Let me pull up that stat. It was like 190 or some shit like that. Hold on. Let me pull it up. Because I know I saw that this morning. Yeah, so this is from The Hill. So let's see how they define this. Here we go. One sec. Pull this up. U.S. passes 200 mass shootings this year. So how are they defining it? 7 shootings over the weekend, including a massacre at a Dallas area outlet mall, brought the total number of mass shootings in the U.S. this year over 200, according to the nonprofit Gun Violence Archive. This year, there have been 202 incidents in which 4 or more people, other than the attacker, were shot. What the hell? The fuck? This one, I don't know. In this other article from Axios, they must have written it out like they must have edited it differently, because when I read that on there, I was like, what, 7? Like, what the fuck? They must have edited that differently or some shit. I don't know, because I was like, no, that's not right. So this year, 202 incidents in which 4 or more people were shot. I think the other one was talking about like mass shootings in like schools and shit. In the past 2 years, the U.S. crossed 200 mass shootings in mid-May, and in 2020 and 2019 didn't reach 200 until mid to late June. Between 2016 and 2018, the country passed 200 mass shootings in late July. And then another four mass shooting incidents were recorded this past Sunday in California, Missouri, New Jersey, and Maryland. I didn't even know what happened here. So again, like, these are becoming so common that it's just like and still there's absolutely no rhetoric from the Republican Party. Um, Absolutely no rhetoric on what they're going to do about this, other than thoughts and prayers, and that we shouldn't make this political, even though it clearly is political. Um, and this was a good one too. Just to be clear, most mass shootings happen in the Bible Belt, because we always just need to sprinkle a little bit more Jesus on the situation, and that's all it takes. It's not actually doing anything about access to weapons. Not passing common sense gun reform, none of that. Just pray a little bit. Apparently, God doesn't speak English, because he's raining down more mass shootings upon us. So there appears to be some type of translation issue. It's that time again. The time when gun loving, Bible toting, God bothering Christians start explaining to the rest of us that the real reason these people are going on killing sprees is because of godlessness. Here's a quote. You and I both agree that there is a mass shooting problem in America. We don't disagree on the issue. We do disagree on the solution. Godlessness, fatherlessness, education. And I don't know who this is, but even at the end of the day, like any type of Republican lawmaker who says stuff like this, godlessness, obviously, that doesn't have anything to do with it. Fatherlessness, well, what are you doing to help families out? What are you doing to help children in poverty? Nothing. Education, what are you doing to increase people's access to better education in this country? Absolutely nothing. Oh, and secular. Oh, he put godlessness, and then he also put secularism. But those two things pretty much mean the same. But yeah, so okay, so here's a map of mass shootings in 2023 in that Bible Belt. Hold on. The curious thing here is that the vast majority of mass shootings in the United States actually happen in the Bible Belt, the part of the country with the highest concentration of Bible believing Christians. The areas of the country where people are significantly unlikely to have any homicidal atheist cooties rub off on them. Okay. We're not terribly well represented in prisons either. A 2021 report found that only 0.1% of people incarcerated in federal prisons identified as either being atheists or humanists. Oh, well, there you go. If we're not doing these crimes, if we're if we're nowhere near where most of them are taking place, then how is this our fault? Also, if Christianity prevents crimes, then why are there more mass shootings in the Bible Belt? Number of deaths in 2023. I guess in the Bible Belt, but just in general, the East Coast is the most populated portion of the country. Other than California, the further west you go, it just gets relatively scarce. I mean, yeah. So, and then also too, like if secularism is a problem, then what's the solution? Forcing people to believe in your religion? Is that the solution? Because forcing people to believe in your religion, that typically doesn't go over very well. You know what I mean? And that's also highly un-American. Uh, but again, it's just interesting. Well, it's not even interesting. It's just I'm really well, like, what's the public gonna do about this? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we gonna do about this? Because obviously, Republicans, goddamn show ain't gonna do nothing about this. Democrats, they're more in favor of gun reform, obviously, but they don't fight as hard as they should. So at the end of the day, this really is gonna boil down to what the people are gonna do about it. Are we gonna put better people in office? Are we gonna hold these people accountable? Because if we don't, then nothing's gonna change. Absolutely nothing. So now we'll watch this video of Roland Martin talking about Texas and again reiterating the fact that the Republican Party is really they're the biggest thing in the way. So here we go.
The other thing is, as President Biden notes, we've seen this again. This happens everywhere in our country all the time, and especially in states like my home state and Roland's home state of Texas, where Republicans have created a climate of problem solving by bullet and the availability of guns to anyone, anywhere, anytime. They've made it easier and easier and easier, and they refuse to do anything about actually solving the problem. They said they were going to do something about 4 years ago after the massacre in El Paso at that Walmart. They put together a sort of show commission that didn't recommend anything significant, and then the legislature didn't do anything about it. Same thing this legislative session. There's legislation on the table to actually require that somebody be at least 21 years old to purchase one of these assault-style weapons, and it is languishing right now in committee. Republicans won't do anything about it.
Roland, you would think after a mass shooting like this, lawmakers in the state where it happened would take stock and work on policy changes, to the secretary's point, to prevent it from happening again. But that's not what happens in Texas.
No.
What do we do here? How do we break this this cycle, I mean, it's not like every 2 weeks, my friend. It's like every other day we're having these stories now about mass shootings.
The only way to change any of this is to completely wipe out the Republican Party. Somebody has to say it. Greg Abbott, the governor, is sick and demented. He has literally done nothing. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, the leadership, Republican leadership in the state, they literally have done nothing. They have ignored the Uvalde parents. I was at the Texas Capitol a few months ago where they were rallying there. They are not going to do.
Yeah, what was it? Yeah, Greg Abbott. He was and one of his responses to this was, well, actually, California, they look at their crime, don't look at our crime.
Anything. But here's also what has to happen. People of conscience are going to have to stop sitting at home and saying, oh, we want something done. In the last election, 75% of all Texans under the age of 30 did not vote. And so the only way to change this is to move these people out of office. There is no other way. And so, yes, we've seen what they've done when it comes to voter suppression. They want to remove voting locations from college campuses. But the way to counter this, you have to take these people out of office and put in people who are going to pass the laws. That is the only way, because it is clear they are not going to change the laws because they are so in love with guns and so in love with the Second Amendment crowd, they do not care to see bodies piled up on the sidewalk.
Change.
And truthfully, I mean, honestly, centrist corporate Democrats will pass gun reform, and the reason I say that is because, like, it's such a low-hanging fruit issue. It's such a low-hanging fruit win. So, like, from that perspective, obviously, we want people in office who are, more progressive than a corporate centrist Democrat, clearly. But what I'm saying is that basically anyone who's not a Republican and not getting money from the NRA or anything similar is almost certainly to vote yes on gun reform. So it's true that we have to vote people out. It's true we have to get better people in office, but we have to find better candidates. You know what I'm saying? We have to find better candidates. And a lot of that's going to take individual work from ourselves, even, like on a local level, at a community level. If there's people that who are interested in running or are running, support them if you believe in them. And that's really what it's going to take. But yeah, I mean, again, this is such a low hanging fruit issue that even, your Nancy Pelosi's, the Chuck Schumer's, the most corporate of corporate Democrats, they're going to vote yes on gun reform because it's just an easy issue. It just is. Other than the gun lobby, absolutely no one's losing from it. You know what I'm saying? Other than the gun lobby, no one loses. So all that to wrap around, yeah, gun reform or rather lack of action on gun reform really is, it may be an equal issue, just as big of an issue as the reversal of Roe v. Wade and red states' continual attacks on, like, oh, we're going to make abortion illegal at conception. That, and then shit like this, that's their biggest issues, plain and simple. Now, here we go. So now this is some updates about what's going on in the country with cannabis. New Jersey Republicans back legal pot. Well, I mean, it's already legal here, but I guess Republicans are coming along with it. Man, there's just so much money to be made in taxes with. There's no reason. I mean, just like, come on. So we're going to look at some cannabis updates from New Jersey, Colorado, Ohio, Massachusetts, Maryland, California, Maine. We're going to get it done. But first, since we talking about some tree right now, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna take a hit from this bong and we're gonna get into this story. But it's just really good to see more and more of the country just get on board with legalizing cannabis because, one, it makes sense, and two, this country needs a lot of money to pay for things. And that's just less taxes that we have to take away from the super wealthy in this nation. So if the super wealthy don't want their taxes raised quite as much, go ahead and get on board with this cannabis legalization. You feel me? You did? Nar House in the building. All right, Fritz. I hope you have a good meeting, and I'm definitely gonna be streaming tomorrow. There's gonna be more stuff to talk about tomorrow, but yes, indeed. I'm telling you, man, the wealthiest people in this country need to get behind legalizing cannabis, because otherwise, it's like, okay, well, if you don't want to do this, then we're gonna have to take more of your money. You dig? All right. I thought it was fitting that we take a quick hit since we're talking about cannabis legalization. So let's get into it. All right, let's check this out. New Jersey Republicans back. Legal pot. Colorado lawmakers on THC limited more cannabis regulation updates in Ohio, Massachusetts, Maine, Maryland, and California. All right, let's check it out. Ohio, collecting signatures for cannabis legalization. Come on, Ohio. Get the job done. Get the job done for your citizens so we can have less people thrown in prison for just smoking some flower or selling some flower. Get the job done for all the tax money that your state needs and for all the federal tax money that this country needs. All right. Advocates for adult use cannabis legalization have begun gathering signatures to place the marijuana proposal on the November ballot. Yo, y'all remember when Oklahoma, like a couple months ago, literally voted no? Like, well, all 16 counties voted no on marijuana legalization. I'm like, are you motherfuckers serious? But apparently they are. We have more work to do. The Coalition to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol, I like that. The Coalition to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol is in charge of collecting petition signatures and is the group behind the proposal that would legalize and regulate the cultivation, manufacturing, testing, and sale of marijuana to Ohioans 21. For the measure to reach the ballot, the petition needs to have 124,000 signatures from half of 88 counties in the Buckeye State. That's incredibly doable. That's extremely doable. Tom Herron, a spokesperson for the coalition, said earlier he is optimistic not only to see the proposal on the ballot, but also that Ohioans will finally legalize cannabis. Well, let's see what happens. Let us see what happens. Oh, y'all in here talking about cultivation for real. We're gonna have to link up. Oh, California. Okay, so what they on? California authorities in Jurupa Valley seize $1 million worth of illegal weed products. Man, that shit finna be on its way out too. Because it's too easy to get it. California's struggles with illegal cannabis operations continue as authorities in Jurupa Valley seize $1 million worth of marijuana products from an illicit dispensary on Thursday in a city in the what the fuck? Oh, of course, advertisements just messed it up. Okay, where were we? Sorry. Now we have to. On Thursday, in a city in the northwest corner of Riverside County, authorities seized 115 pounds of processed cannabis, 10 pounds of psilocybin mushrooms, 100 pounds of cannabis concentrate, 2,400 cannabis vapes, and 1,200 edibles. Yeah, that's a decent little come up right there. At first, the authorities came following up a report of a disturbance. When they showed up, several individuals ran away. Some of them were caught, and afterward, authorities issued these warrants. Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission is working on social consumption sites. What that mean? Let's see. Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission is reviewing policies on the social consumption of cannabis with the goal of creating social consumption sites. Cannabis is unique, said CCC Commissioner Kimberly Roy. It is now the top crop in Massachusetts. It actually outpaces cranberries. Damn. But it has different challenges with the federal illegality. Man, there's just so much money being left on the table. It's so stupid. I mean, like collecting money from um I'm sorry, my mind went on to something else real quick. But I mean, like collecting taxes, federal taxes, state taxes from cannabis can help pay for better education programs. I mean, there's just so much things that this money can go towards. Hundreds of billions of dollars over time, like over a short period of time. Like, if it was legal in all 50 states. The priority categorizes for revision include 1, clarifying host community agreements, 2, establishing municipality equality, and 3, commencing social consumption. Maine. Isn't Maine the whitest state in the country? No, I'm like seriously. I think if I recall, let's look this up. I think Maine is the whitest. It has the most white people. What is the whitest state in America? Oh, Vermont. Vermont is the whitest state in America. And Maine is the second whitest state in America. So we have, Aaron in the building. What's popping? Vermont. 95.6% of people in Vermont are white. But Maine, Maine, 95.4% of people in Maine are white. West Virginia, this sounds very correct. 94.4. Okay, so then it goes to Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Iowa. But yeah, no, Maine is the second whitest state. I knew it was up there somewhere. We kind of got off into a tangent, but whatever. We just learned something new. Vermont and Maine are the two whitest states in America. But very beautiful states. I live close to them. I want to go see them. Like in the fall or some shit. A legislative committee in the Pine Tree State voted down legislation that would voted down legislation that would have authorized the governor to enter into interstate agreements regarding the cannabis industry following the federal reform. Members of the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs voted unanimously on a motion to vote against the bill. Democratic Rep. Joseph Perry filed a marijuana-related bill in the State House on April 25th. Under the measure, the governor will be allowed to sign agreements with other legal states authorizing transportation, cultivation, manufacture, testing, purchase, sale, or distribution of cannabis or cannabis products into and out of the state by entities licensed in Maine, as soon as when federal law permits interstate transfer. Facts. Yeah, Idaho, facts. Yeah, Idaho's not a state that you want to drive through. I heard it's beautiful, but you don't want to drive through it. Okay, here we go. I'm catching up with y'all. Y'all funny as hell. But yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, like literally, like in like every 5 years, the United States will be raking in hundreds of billions of dollars by legalizing cannabis products all the way down to the bone. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just so much fucking money would come from that to pay for so many things that we need. And again, like I keep saying, the more money we can collect from drugs, the less money we have to collect from all these rich motherfuckers. So, let's get to it if they want to keep their money. Maryland, the first marijuana social equity mentorship program. The Maryland Medical Dispensary Association and Project Dream launched a program for business owners that fit the state's social equity requirements from any sector looking to expand into the marijuana industry. Colorado, lawmakers announced compromise on THC levels. Oh, so they're going to put more THC into CBD. We're gonna let people get a little more high than they were. Okay, and this is a little thing about marijuana markets, I guess, with 11 weed sales, $1.74 billion in March. Hey man, that's so much goddamn money, man. Like that shit really is. That's and easy money, low hanging fruit. You know what I'm saying? Like what is there left to wait on? What is there left to discuss? You know what I'm saying? Oh, you in New Orleans? Oh, okay, yeah, yo, New Orleans that's one of the before I got into politics, before I moved to New Jersey, I used to um do event organization pretty heavily, especially in music. And we went to New Orleans several times. That's some of the best times that I had doing that. That man, New Orleans is just it's just a good time. You feel me? And it's like it's so different than everywhere else. Like that's where you from. What up, Andrea? That's where you from, Nora Laus. You from New Orleans, or you moved there later in life? But that concludes today's stream. You know what I'm saying? There wasn't that much to discuss today, but it ended up being a pretty good discussion anyway. Oh no, Mary, I've been talking about that with I've been talking about people that with people because I used to sell weed illegally, but I used to sell it for a long time. And I'm 31 years old, and even in my lifetime, the street value has gone down so much. Like you really, you know what I'm saying? You really can't make no money off of that shit for real. Not like how you used to, unless you growing it for somebody or some shit like that. But shit, the government they need to fucking keep legalizing it. But yeah, nah, the shit. Because when I was like 17, 18 years old, you used to be able to fucking buy ounces of good weed for like $600. That shit is not happening now. Ain't nobody doing that shit. But yeah, nah, the street value of weed has gone down so much. It's like that's the power of legalization. That's why motherfuckers ain't selling alcohol in the streets no more. Yeah. Because now motherfuckers be selling. I just got an ounce of some decent weed for $100. Like, man, you ain't making no money off this shit, man. The profit margin has gone down so goddamn much, man. Like, who the fuck, like, shit crazy. Even when I was doing it, I used to watch year after year, like, yo, I'm making less money doing this shit because people just ain't paying as much for this shit like they used to. Because too many people got it. Like, motherfuckers be having mad money. Yeah, I sold weed for 7 years. I sold weed for a long ass time. I sold weed. I sold other shit too. Mostly weed and some prescription shit. But yeah, I sold weed for a long time. You know, that's what I'm saying. Growers, the only people making the money now, really, again, growers, motherfuckers who get contracted to grow it for people. Otherwise, it's like, it's too easy to find. But yeah, no, if you grow that shit though, if you grow that shit, you are in a good position. But like motherfuckers in the street, especially in places like this, like I'm up here in this huge ass market like New York, motherfuckers be like selling half ounces for $60 and shit. Motherfucker, like, yo, you just sold me this half ounce for $70. Like, you're not making any money doing this. No, my light out. I got some matches though. Hold up, I'm finna get these matches. Yo, y'all got no lighter, no extra lighter. I gotta order a lighter. Hell nah. This shit ain't working. It's all good. I'm finna order a lighter, but I appreciate each and every one of y'all for joining me. And I'm definitely gonna be on tomorrow, and there's gonna be more stuff to talk about, I'm sure. But y'all have a